Okay, so I should maybe explain what this is. Um, it's actually quite simple. For many, many years, I think 5 years, I've been collecting old clothes from my family, from my extended family. Stuff just starts to pile up. And I've been doing that because I looked at how many clothes were getting sorted out from everyone in my family, and I thought, that's good cloth. I could use that to make something. I can like cut it apart, recycle it to make like sewing projects because I've always wanted to learn sewing, and yeah.
Okay, so what I did was actually I sewed these ends together, and then this didn't look as neat as this, right? It's really close to the seam, and I cut off the part here, like there was a huge part above there, and then this stuff I cut off these, and then what I'm doing right now is I'm taking this, which would be a bit loose on its own, like it holds together, but it might fall apart. And then I'm sewing this over it. Because, right, for one, I want the seam to hold together. All really strong, because that will be a bit embarrassing if my pants fall apart. But for another thing, if you're doing this with scrap fabric, and then you're sewing all these little bits together, if you're doing a garment, then it's actually gonna be really, really bulky if you just leave on the ends and you don't sew them up properly. How that happened with a garment I made previously. But yeah, so the real point of this is that I can then take this, which, like, that's the reason why the garment gets bulky, right? It's like if it stands off like this, like that's this much bulk between your skin and your garment, so you have to cut it off. And then if you sew this over it, you can fold it back, and then hopefully you'll have a really like smooth, sort of quilted, I don't know, smooth sewn together scrap fabric that will behave like a regular piece of cloth, hopefully in some capacity at least. Also, I highly recommend that while you're filming a sewing tutorial, you're standing on a table where you don't know if it'll support your weight or not. It is supporting my weight so far, but I don't know how long that will last because it does feel kind of wobbly and unstable. Also, please put your camera stand completely in the way of the sewing machine. It would be totally horrible if it would not always stand in the way. Just, yeah. Also put the camera stand on the table because that's the safest place for a camera stand to be. And there's no way for gravity to fuck this up, clearly.
And I have sewn garments before, but not in a very thought through manner. This isn't thought through either, but it's an improvement on what I used to do. Also, I should correct, this isn't a tutorial, this is a documentary. I'm not in any place to give advice.
Okay, so next step is you take these, alright, steam them all up, and now, so that they'll act sort of like a normal fabric, at least I hope they will. I've never tried this before. The plan is that I'll sew them up like this. So like I'll do another seam and then I'm sew them to one side of the fabric so that they'll lay flat. Now the thing is, you may be asking, dude, why did you use so many colors? You're right. This is gold brown and then this is that. That's a multicolor floret actually. And the reason for that is I don't like these threads, and I want to use them up. And on the inside seam, you can't see which colors I used. It's a secret, so I can use whichever color thread I want. And, you know, like since I don't actually want to use them on anything you can see, they're on the inside. And for the outside seam, I'll, right, like for this part where I'm sewing this here firmly, I'll actually be using a white thread, so a sensible color that can be seen on the outside fabric. Yeah, let's do that.
And the reason I'm making this documentary is actually to motivate me, because in 5 years, a lot of fabric, a lot of old clothes can stack up, and I did not know what to do with them anymore, so I just decided one go, one big project, but that's an awful lot to take on, so I wanted to film this so I could be sure that I'd see it through to the end.
I've got something like this, which is 3 times I've sewn over the same spots. Now on the flip side, it looks like this, right? Because I had the white thread underneath, so that would show up. And then this is the right side of the fabric, and what I've done here is I've sewn 3 strips together each time. 3 of the strips that I've been making, and then I'm going to treat these seams here just like these here. So here I'll cut off all the excess, and then I'll do the zigzag lines on the seam so it won't unravel, and then I'll put a 3rd seam on top so it'll lie flat against the fabric. And then we'll have these white lines over here as well, right, like along this line. And then got 4 pieces of these with 3 strips. I'll actually be adding a 4th strip to 2 of these pieces because I have 2 single strips left over, and I feel like I might be needing them, you know, just to make the pants the proper size. But then, yeah, so I'll have like 2 pieces for the front legs and 2 pieces for the back. And then I've never made pants before, so I have no idea how to sew them together, but I think I can find out something. This is pretty much, like, I've never done anything like this before. I have sewn fabrics together to make a coat, but it did not work out, and it was nothing like what I'm doing right now. This is, I don't know what I'm doing. This is all just based on me hoping that I'll figure stuff out as I go along. But, yeah. It's like, so far, this is already much better than I expected.
I'm making a pair of pants in this from, I think, 6 to 9. Somewhere between 6 and 9 old pairs of pants, none of which fit me or any other member of my family anymore. And the reasoning behind that is that I really needed a set of pants. I could not go out and buy one because we were in a lockdown, coronavirus pandemic, you're not allowed to go shopping. So I just said, I do not know how to sew pants, but I wanna sew, I need a pair of pants, so I'm just going to sew one without knowing how. And I actually made a lot of mistakes because, as you'll see in a moment, I cut the curve that's supposed to define the shape of the crotch upside down. See that? That's not how a pair of pants is supposed to look. And I didn't know that I cut it upside down. I did not watch any tutorials on how to sew pants. I found out in the end by looking at a pair of pants that I bought from a store and seeing, oh, they did it differently, and I sort of figured the rest out on my own. But I redid this pair of pants 3 times, just completely cut it up, sewed new parts onto it, cut it up again. There you can see the second version of me cutting it up. I didn't even film the 3rd time that I cut up and redid the crotch because I was so embarrassed and so frustrated with myself that I did not want to capture that on video, but I just wanted to say, yeah, my approach to that was certainly flawed. A really great experience in the end, like that part not. It felt horrible to like have to cut up a project like that over and over and over again. I'm actually suing the belt loops and the pockets on that one. I decided to add those in retrospect. But I can sew pants now, and I can even sew pretty decent pants that I can actually wear and that I think look sort of good. And I'm pretty proud of that because of that experience, I can actually cut cloth for pants without using a sewing pattern. I don't know how advisable that will be to duplicate for anyone else. Just as a process, it's probably not as accurate as you'd like. But yeah, like, it works, it's fun, and I'm quite proud of myself that in the end I managed to achieve that, but that's not even in this video, that's the next couple ones. Now, in case you're wondering what I'm doing right here, when you sew something on a sewing machine, there's always loose threads that get left over at the end of every single seam you sewed. As you've seen in this video, I did every single seam 3 times, so that's 3 sets of 2 loose thread ends that I have to cut off, and that's the pile that I removed. That's the final pair of pants lying on the floor. Yay for that. And it's a lengthy process removing all the threads on every single seam, because that's a lot of seams, because that's a patchwork, so that means there's a lot of loose thread ends that you have to cut off. And this is how I thought of presenting the final result in the first place. I thought I'd leave it in because it looked funny, but eventually I did a slightly more professional and / or useful version where I just stood and turned around. So, well, I mean, just wiggling your legs on the floor does look sort of stupid. And there I tucked in my shirt, so you can see the top part with the belt loops. Those were hard to do the first time on. And oh yeah, I actually did want to make that those pants without pockets at first, because I did not know how to sew pockets. I didn't even know how to sew pants, right? So I didn't want to challenge myself extra, but after 3 times of tearing it up, I just said, fuck this, let's just improvise pockets. I did watch a tutorial on how to sew pockets. I didn't learn anything from it. In the end, I just made up my own way, and it sort of worked. And that's the leftover pieces of fabric that, like, of making the pants, that I'm just folding up so I can keep them and reuse them for a different project someday, because minimal waste. That's a pile of fabric left over from a box of cloth at the beginning. That's all the thread I used on that project. And that's how my closet looks after that. You can see there's a missing spot where that box of cloth used to be. Also, this entire video was a very steep learning curve in another way, because this is the first thing I ever edited in Adobe Premiere. and I more or less taught myself how to use Adobe Premiere just by editing this, and I'm pretty proud of that because it was hard, but now I can, so the video's obviously finished, and well, in case you did watch that, thank you for your attention, and goodbye.